Hello students, today we will learn Wittig rearrangement. It is a base catalyzed rearrangement of an ether to an alcohol via a 1-2 shift is known as the Wittig rearrangement. This is a rearrangement to the electron-rich carbon atom. So other similar rearrangement would be Stevens rearrangement, Feverovsky rearrangement also, because all of these involve an electron rearrangement to an electron-rich carbon atom. This rearrangement is named for the Nobel Prize winning chemist George Wittig. Now let us look at the reaction. So this is a general reaction wherein you can see an ether getting converted to an alcohol in presence of a base, and in the second step we have the acidification, on which we are going to get an alcohol as a product. So this is the Wittig rearrangement, and in this rearrangement there is a rearrangement of R1. You can see here how the R1 or R prime of the which is attached to the oxygen is getting rearranged to the carbon atom. So here you can see, and this is involving the rearrangement on an electron-rich carbon atom. So next, let us look at some of the reactions. So here given some reactions here. These are in general Wittig rearrangement. You can see in all of these that the ether is getting converted to the alcohol in presence of a base. It can be phenyl lithium or it could be sodium amide, NaNH2. Next, there is the migratory aptitude of the order, that is the R prime that is the migratory aptitude of the R prime is given here. First is the order is going to be given to allyl and benzyl, and next comes the alkyl, then methyl and aryl, and so on. And if there is an electron withdrawing substituent, there's always the migration will happen at an increasing rate. Next, coming to the crossover experiment, it proves that Wittig rearrangement is an intramolecular in nature. So here you can see how there's an isotopic labeling on the substrate 1, and in 2 there is no isotopic labeling. And when this undergoes the Wittig rearrangement in presence of a base, butyl lithium, and you can see how in the product you can see how the isotopic labeling has been retained in the same way in the product. So this shows that this reaction is an intramolecular, that is there is going to be a rearrangement within the particular substrate itself, and there is no crossover experiment, or it is not an intermolecular rearrangement, but it is an intramolecular rearrangement, because you can see the isotopic labeling on the substrate. This gets, that is CH3 isotope is getting CH3 group with a carbon isotope, radioactive carbon is getting replaced, or it is getting rearranged to the CH2 group. So that is how you can see that this reaction is an intramolecular and not an intermolecular rearrangement. Next, moving on to the mechanism. The reaction mechanism involves initial deprotonation of the acidic hydrogen, which gives carb anion. In the next step, the migrating group migrates without its bonding electron pair to the electron-rich carbanionic carbon, which leads to the formation of an alkoxide ion. The alkoxide ion gives rearranged product alcohol on acidification. Stability of the anion is the driving force for the rearrangement, because oxygen anion is more stable than the carb anion. So let us look at the mechanism. So in the first step we have a ether, and in this the alpha carbon, that is the carbon which is linked to the oxygen, is always called as the alpha carbon, and also the hydrogens which are linked to the carbon becomes the alpha hydrogen, and these hydrogens have to be acidic in nature. These will be acidic in nature because it is linked to the oxygen, which is more electronegative, and this is only the criteria for this reaction for the first step, or for the initialization of the Wittig rearrangement. The first step would be always there should be a presence of an acidic hydrogen which can be deprotonated by the base. So in this example we have taken the sodium amide as the base, which is in the form of Na plus NH2 minus. So NH2 minus is going to take up the proton from the CH2 group, and the result would be a formation of a carb anion. CH2 minus is going to be formed. Now this CH2 minus which is formed is going to get rearranged. So this is nothing but a 1-2 shift. So here you can see that oxygen, if you name it as 1 and methyl as 2, Okay, and here CH as 1 and C6H5 as 2. So this means that it is a 1-2 shift, means means that a substituent from the second position is going to move to the first position. So that is called as the 1-2 shift here. So 1-2 shift is, this is how it is going to happen. That is, there's a carbanion which is going to take up a methyl group which is at the second position from the oxygen. So once it takes up the methyl group without an electron pair, then what happens is, you can see how there is already a negative charge on CH, so hence it doesn't need an electron pair of the methyl group to attach to itself. So it is going to take up the CH3 plus, like an electrophile attacking the nucleophile. So once that once that is formed, you can see there is a transition state of CH2 forming a dotted lines with the CH3. The next step would be, so once the CH2 minus grabs the electrophile CH3 plus, now there is going to be a negative charge on oxygen. So oxygen is going to have a negative charge and CH is going to form a bond with CH3 like this. So now this forms an alkoxide ion. So alkoxide is nothing but methyl or an hydrocarbon which is linked to an oxygen bearing a negative charge is the alkoxide ion. And before that, you can see the transition state here, how the bond formation and bond breaking is shown here. There is, all the two bonds are shown in the dotted line because there is a bond cleavage between oxygen and CH3, and there's a bond formation between carbon and CH3. So now here you can see the charges on carbon and oxygen. So here you can see carbon is having a negative charge, so you are given a partial negative charge on carbon, and oxygen is having a positive charge which is given here. So this is how you are going to write the transition state. Now the next step, as I already told, this is nothing but the formation of the alkoxide ion. So this is how the alkoxide ion is formed. Now this ion is highly stable, and this, you can say, this is the reaction which is formed and which initiates the Wittig rearrangement because of the stability of this alkoxide ion. So O minus CHO minus is a very stable alkoxide, is a very stable ion. So this is the reason, this also you can say that this is the driving force for the Wittig rearrangement to take place. The next step would be, the last step would be the acidification of the alkoxide ion to give rise to the alcohol. So this is how the ether is going to get converted to the alcohol in presence of a base like NaNH2 or PHLi. This reaction can also take place by the free radical mechanism. Formation of byproducts and racemization of the substrate can only be explained if mechanism of the reaction is free radical. Spectroscopic examination of the rearrangement also indicated that free radical intermediates are formed during the reaction. The free radical mechanism is shown below. So here also it is the same mechanism. You can see here, in presence of a base, the first step would be the deprotonation, that is H plus is going to be removed to give rise to a carbanion O minus. Now at this position there is going to be a homolytic bond cleavage between the oxygen and the R prime group. There is oxygen and the alkyl group. Once there is a homolytic cleavage, you can see that oxygen is going to have one electron on itself, and R prime is going to have one electron on itself in this form. Now this can also be written as in a conjugated form, or in the resonance structure you can write it in the other way around, that is carbon having a lone pair and oxygen bearing the negative charge. Now you should know that this is always in a solvent cage, because as we know that free radical reactions are highly unreactive and they're highly progressive in nature. So that's the reason by which if you want to desired product to be obtained, then this has to be taken place or conducted in a particular method, that is in a solvent cage. So because of which the intermediate can be retained, and also the product that is you want to get can be derived easily. So now in the solvent cage, what happens is you're going to get an intermediate of this kind, wherein carbon will have a free radical on it and oxygen a negative charge. Now from this point there is going to be rapid recombination of radicals, that is R free radical prime is going to form a bond with the carbon to give rise to an alkoxide ion of this kind. That is nothing but C prime, that is C free radical, and R prime free radical, that is this C free radical and R prime free radical are going to form a bond to give this bond, Cr prime. This bond is going to be formed. The next step is nothing but the acidification, on which there is going to be formation of the alcohol. So this is how, again, in presence of the free radical mechanism, you are going to get a ether getting converted to alcohol in presence of a sodium amide. So this is for the Wittig rearrangement. Thank you.